era where it feels like remakes and remasters are constantly around the corner, bringing ports and completely reimagined versions of our favorite games to modern hardware. In fact, sometimes it feels like entire announcement streams revolve around remakes and remasters, to the point that we wonder when we're even getting new games at all. And while that's awesome for people who never got to experience these games when they were new, or for people who want to relive the nostalgia, there are so many gems that have just been lost to the sands of time. I've been extremely lucky in the past few years with many hidden gems I'd hope to see brought to modern consoles, like another Code, Ghost Trick, and even Investigations too. But today, I wanted to talk about some of my top picks that haven't seen the light of day in over a decade, that I'd love to see brought back to modern consoles. Hotel Dusk and Last Window. In Hotel Dusk, you play as Kyle Hyde, a detective searching for his missing partner Bradley, who unravels a mystery at a small hotel in rural Nevada. It's a hidden gem that takes place between Christmas and New Year's, and as someone who now loves visual novels and narrative games, it was actually my very first story-focused game and what got me hooked on the genre. I'll never forget how hard I cried during a certain basement scene, and the characters are not only well-written and interesting to watch, but heavily flawed. The game also has a really unique animation style made by rotoscoping, which is tracing over real people who modeled for them in a neat sketch art style reminiscent of a sketchbook. In contrast to many other video games, the tone is also realistic, and this easily could have been a live-action movie if it wanted to be, since it's that grounded in reality. The vibes are immaculate, and everything from the art style to the music is incredibly charming, creating a unique experience you won't find anywhere else. The game is a bit of a slow burn and won't quite suit everyone's tastes, but those of us who love it would agree that it's memorable, and would love to see more people experience it for the first time. There's also a sequel game called Last Window that was only ever released in Europe that most fans never got to experience. So some puzzles would have to be adapted for Switch. I would love to see a dual set of this series released for Switch so a new generation can appreciate the unique charm of these two beautiful games. Though Sing, the company that made it, no longer exists, I like to remain hopeful that it could someday become reality, as another Sing collection, the Another Code collection, recently released for Switch. I do worry, however, that they may take a similar approach and reimagine the game in third-person 3D, when I feel a huge part of the charm is the 2D rotoscoping art style, but if I'm gonna be honest, I'll take whatever I can get to have this game shown to a new audience. If you want to get a feel for Sing's development style, there's a new short game recently published by Arc System Works called Dear Me, I Was, which has a similar melancholic plot and art style that I highly recommend if you want a short, touching narrative that has a strong human touch to it. The game has no dialogue, but a memorable plot that will leave you in tears and takes just under an hour to complete. One game series that I never got to experience since I never owned a PS2, but have been learning more and more about in recent days thanks to YouTube's easy access to older OSTs, is tonelico. It's an older RPG series that hasn't had a new installment in over a decade, but I think that gives it a prime nostalgia window to make a comeback for longtime fans and people like me who recently discovered it through its unique music. tonelico is a slower-paced JRPG series with a heavy focus on music. I haven't played them myself, so I can only speak on what I've heard, but from what I understand, these are 40 to 100-hour RPGs entirely designed around beautifully crafted and unique OSTs, with many songs written in hymnos, a language with many dialects written specifically for the game. The language has become so famous that there are even fans who write their own songs in hymnos. If you haven't heard any of the songs, it's hard to describe the ethereal experience. The songs comprise of beautiful harmonies, unique melodies, and the lyrics are deeply tied to the narrative, making it a unique experience I would love to play through if it is ever brought to Switch or PS5. For people who appreciate the unique music styles in fantasy RPGs, this series is an absolute treasure trove of world-class music that's hard to compare with anything else out there. From what I've heard, the game is also known for its character writing and world building, so I do think it would hit a good note for fans of games like Xenoblade and Withering Wave. It does, however, feature turn-based combat, which is often seen as outdated and boring, but I do hope that with recent success of games like Expedition 33 and Metaphor ReFantazio, more people may be willing to give it a chance. I think the main downside that might prevent tonelico from having a chance of breaking it into the mainstream, whether new games, ports, or additions, is the fact that the games are so long. While there are still games that take 40 to 100 hours, in an era where there are more games than ever being made, attention spans are dwindling every year, along with our backlogs becoming longer and longer. Games with a lot of grinding and repetition at that length are often too intimidating for many people to start, so perhaps it's a product of its time. But I'd still love to see it get another chance, as it seems like such a beautiful series, and I would love to give it a try. I do also worry a bit that some of the character designs may be subjected to heavy censorship in today's game climate, though that's conversation for for another day. Another game I would love to see that I think would be really fun for online play, particularly with other streamers, is Custom Robo, particularly a remaster of the GameCube version. I can't really comment on the story mode because I'm gonna be real, I was so young, one of my siblings cleared the entire thing and I never even bothered. But the PvP mode in this game was extremely fun. From what I understand though, the story mode is pretty short and can be cleared easily in under 10 hours, or even under 20 for completionists, making it decently approachable for today's standards as an RPG if story mode is more your thing and you want something that isn't too long. In the PvP arena mode, you customize robots with different parts and weapons and then fight with up to 3 other players in an arena. For me, the customization made this game way more enjoyable than other games like Smash Bros or Anime Fighters, since I had so much fun mixing and matching parts and creating robots that I thought looked cool. Swift with Dragons or Hornet is the best, by the way. The goal is to destroy the enemy's bot while minimizing damage by ducking behind barriers and dodging blows and missiles. The game can be taken as seriously as you want it to be, or if you're like me, you can just run around in a giant noodle bowl throwing cheap blows with super fast builds so no one can hit you. I can't really say the game is incredibly balanced because certain weapons are definitely better than others, and if you're smart with your builds, it's easy to become overpowered quickly. But it's definitely fun as a party brawler if you just have fun with it and don't take it too seriously. I'm sure with certain limitations, especially not allowing banned weapons, it could have a decent competitive balance. But to me, I just enjoy messing around, and there's nothing wrong with that. I do think there's unique potential though, if the game were to take the remake approach instead of a remaster, to build a new game inspired by the original from the ground up, that would have the potential to cater to even competitive communities if it wanted to. But with the rise of esports, I'd be curious to know how this game would fare if it were to release today. It probably wouldn't shake the world by storm or anything, but I'd love to see if a niche community would pick it up. Wii Fit is one of the best known fitness games of all time, though these days I'd say it's pretty much become a thrift store staple, rather than anything people are actively playing, much like Rock Band. With other fitness games like fitness boxing and Ring Fit gaining popularity, I'd love to see the return of lower intensity games like Wii Fit for people who may want to add workouts that are less cardio focused and more balance focused or low intensity. The main thing that sets Wii Fit apart from other fitness games is the incorporation of its balance board. The balance board controls the majority of the gameplay and is what the title says, a board that you stand on and balance. Thanks to this, I learned a lot about my dreadful balance, and though it's not a high intensity workout, it was unique and fun in its own way, and great for days that I didn't have as much stamina or was recovering from a more intense workout. Unlike Ring Fit or fitness boxing, which often focus on cardio like jogging or boxing, Wii Fit's primary focus involves things like yoga or mini games where you shift your weight. I can't really think of an equivalent game on modern hardware, and I don't recall any games on the Switch ever using a balance board, so I'm really curious how it would fare if it were to come out today. Back in the day, the Nintendo Wii was the fitness console with games like this and Wii Sports. With Wii Fit being so famous and a recent release of Nintendo Switch Sports, I do wonder if it would do even better today, banking off of its past success and the success of other fitness games. Or hell, maybe even if the balance board in general made a return, we could see games like Ring Fit make use of optional side modes that use both the balance board and the Ring-Con, giving unique full-body workouts to people who own both games, or at least who own both peripherals. It'd also just be fun to see if games like Mario Kart could adapt to using the balance board as a controller, as other games like Monkey Ball have done previously. The top game that I would love to see come to the Nintendo Switch is Trauma Center, particularly the multiplayer edition Trauma Team. Trauma Center is a surgery game series made by Atlas that hasn't received an additional entry since the Wii era. It's a secondhand gem that I found for the DS a number of years ago, and quickly fell in love with and hunted down the remaining games on Wii. Though the second entry continues to elude me, but I will find it one day. The game has a story mode that's actually fairly interesting to read through, and the originals featured either the DS stylus or the Wii remote to conduct surgery, making it a lot more fun and immersive than a surgery game may sound on the surface. Because of the controls, I think it would be perfect for Joy-Cons, or even the new Switch 2 mouse mode, so I'd love to see how it would run on modern hardware. Also, I just think Trauma Team would make for fun, chaotic VTuber collabs. The levels start off pretty easy and lull you into a false sense of security before ramping up in difficulty, and you really begin to feel the pressure when your patients' lives are on the line. It's not really a realistic medical game, as the threats can be a bit absurd and silly at times. Spoiler alert! The main antagonist is an artificial disease created by people called guilt, and like a classic anime-style role-playing game, you're an overpowered protagonist with a unique ability. But it's a unique and fun experience that's definitely worth checking out at least once if you're looking for something unique and innovative in terms of gameplay. Honestly, This is one series where as much as a remake or remaster would be nice, more than anything, I would love to see a completely new addition to the series. If it does well, then it'd be easy to bring the older games forward with a port. And if not, at least older fans are eating well with a new game after all this time. But in a time where a lot of people complain that many mainstream games are too similar to each other and not innovative enough, and with AAA games losing popularity as AA games rise, I think it'd be a fun curveball to throw to shake things up. Obviously, with thousands and thousands of games out there, these aren't the only games that deserve modern ports. There are just 5 that regularly come to mind for me. And I'm curious, what games would you want to see come to modern hardware? Or what games did get a remaster or remake that you've been enjoying? Let me know in the comments, and maybe if I can track down an older copy, I can check them out someday.